Primetime Sports with Scott Alexander is underwritten by Task Performance.
Crescent City Steakhouse, a true neighborhood restaurant operated by the Vojkovic family since 1934, is the oldest steakhouse in the city of New Orleans. Serving only hand-cut, prime-aged, corn-fed beef for over 80 years, Crescent City Steakhouse has become a dining destination for both die-hard locals and adventurous travelers who seek traditional, timeless New Orleans cuisine. Crescent City Steakhouse, 1001 North Broad, on the corner of St. Philip, in the heart of New Orleans.
Fall in love with autumn with PJ's new seasonal lattes. Our pumpkin latte brings you all the flavors of a pumpkin pie with hints of cinnamon and nutmeg, like your favorite holiday dessert in a cup. And our s'mores latte with flavors of toasted marshmallows, warm milk chocolate, and graham cracker cinnamon is sure to bring back campfire memories. The PJ's Fall Seasonal Lattes, available at your local PJ's only for a limited time.
So here's the bottom line. Well, it's funny that you say that. Let me tell you. Good evening and welcome to Primetime Sports. Hey, I'm your host, Scott Alexander, and we are right in the middle of summer. That's right, it officially begins this week. The longest days of the year are right now, so if you like being outside, this is your time of year because it stays light dark. I mean, it stays light as long as it does any other time. Hey, by the way, the Saints, they missed their last day of minicamp. That's right, they said, hey, we've seen enough. We're good. But they'll have about 5 weeks off, and then training camp begins, and once again, it's going to be in Metairie. No more West Virginia, no more Greenbrier. They're going to take it in the heat, and you will be, as a fan, be able to go see them. Hey, the NBA draft is this week. We have the Pelicans don't have a first-round pick because they got Nico Mirotic, but they will pick 51st. But this draft is always fun to watch. You have guys like DeAndre Ayton and Luka Doncic. They figure to be one of the top ones. You also have Marvin Bagley, Trae Young, Michael Porter, who came on strong, and several others, and it should be fun to watch this draft. The College World Series, well, that is still going on. It's got another week left, and as of right now, Florida, Arkansas, and Mississippi State, the three SEC teams, they're all still alive. But how about the World Cup? That's the world stage right here. Mexico, what a huge upset over Germany, 1-0. That was giant against the defending champs. Iceland, hey, they tied Argentina. Messi missed a penalty kick right there. He missed it. They ended up tying 1-1. And yesterday, how about the way England and Harry Kane survived Tunisia? They won with a header by Kane, 2-1 in the extra time. And Switzerland, they shocked Brazil 1-1. Portugal, with Ronaldo's 3 goals this past weekend, 3-3 on a free kick to tie it. And that free kick is, I don't know why they do it, but free kick's harder than the penalty kick. Anyway, we have a great show for you. Stay tuned. Taz Mitchell, LSU coach now, former LSU player, third leading scorer in LSU history. He'll be here. We're going to talk NBA draft with Trace Brocato. Coming up next on Primetime Sports. Welcome back to Primetime Sports. Hey, I'm your host, Scott Alexander. We're going to have a huge show for you next week. Today, it's going to be a little different. I'm going to have Tasmin Mitchell, who's now an assistant basketball coach at LSU. He's also the third leading scorer in LSU history. That's right behind only Pistol Pete Maravich and Duran Macklin, ahead of Bob Pettit, ahead of Shaquille O'Neal, ahead of everybody else you can think of. That was great. But Tasmin Mitchell was on the show last year. We're going to have some fun. We're going to talk about this LSU team that he saw as his first year as an assistant. we're going to kind of get into the past. He was on that Final Four team in 2006. He was a freshman, starting with a couple other redshirt freshmen. One of them was our guest last week, Garrett Temple, and we had a little fun with him talking about it. We're going to do it again. And he was also on that 2009 team who played North Carolina, the eventual champion, so well. Everybody else got beat by 20. LSU was tied with them fairly late in the game, and they lost a pretty close game. So we're going to get into that, and we're going to bring him back because I want to talk all about the future players at LSU. This is a very decorated recruiting class. Some say one of the best they've ever had, and Dale Brown used to bring in number 1 and 2 players all the time, but this is deep. They got 6, 7 newcomers that you can expect will play a lot. But first, here he is, Taz Mitchell. You were here a year ago.
Yes, sir.
First time. It's good to see you back. How you been, man?
I'm great, man. Thanks for having me.
All right, I said this last week when Garrett was on, your teammate, obviously. And by the way, kudos to Garrett. He is the last remaining player on that Final Four team that's in the NBA. And you probably would have won a little money after the Final Four if you would have said that, because Tyrus Thomas was the 4th overall pick, and Big Baby, it seems everybody knew.
Right. Yeah, I mean, like I say, with Garrett, we're respected, man. He deserved it. He deserved it all. He's just a great guy, man.
And y'all were kind of y'all the peers. I mean, you aren't you the same age? You're different because he redshirted that year, but you were a name that was heard of literally almost like LeBron in a sense, and I mean that because I was doing recruiting shows in Atlanta, national ones, and you heard the name Taz Mitchell like in 8th grade, and I'm not talking people just in Baton Rouge or Denham Springs. You heard it all the way around. You were kind of a monster early on. The only other guy, LeBron was that way, and also Sebastian Telfair was another dude that you just heard of when he got into 7th grade. So you were kind of a phenom growing up. What was that like?
It was awesome, man.
It was awesome.
It was good, though, you know. But, I mean, you know, my mom and my grandmother always told me to stay humble, you know what I'm saying? So, basically, I absorbed that, you know what I'm saying? I just wanted to be better. I wanted people to keep talking about me, you know what I'm saying? So I didn't just take it like, oh, I'm all this. But I just wanted people to keep talking about me, so I took what they was giving me, and I used it to my advantage.
Well, they did it well, because I remember when I first actually met you, you were still only probably a freshman or sophomore. We were in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. I would always go. You were playing with the New Orleans Jazz. I think Big Baby was like, he was just kind of a big blob back at that point. But these guys, I don't know who exactly was on your team, but I know guys like Chris Duhon and Maurice Williams, Mo Williams, even before that, Jonathan Bender. Then you had Brandon Bass, and you were playing up with all these guys. They had some legendary teams. But even back then, because I interview all the players, particularly the seniors, for the show I'm doing, but I remember talking to you and saying, wow, this guy's not only really smart, he's very grounded and humble, and obviously you just said where you got that from.
Yeah, you was my first ever interview. I was so nervous. I remember with
Do
Fox.
You remember that?
With Fox, yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, you was my first ever interview. But yeah, man, it was awesome playing with guys like that. And then the guys that came before me, you know. So I played with the New Orleans Jazz. It was me, Big Baby. You know, we was all younger than Brandon Bass, so that was playing against LeBron James and all the other guys. I think I was a sophomore.
Yeah, you
were. A sophomore, a freshman, and well, I was actually a freshman.
Yeah, you were going into.
I was going into my sophomore season. That summer, going into sophomore season. So it was awesome, man. It was a rude awakening because I wasn't playing against Marpaul and Holden and Holden no more. So, but yeah, I mean, but you know, I felt like I handled it real well. You know, I was ready for the challenge. My body was physically able, and my mental was also. So, you know, like I said, I was prepared, man.
You know what else I just remember? And I know we have some pics of when you won the Final Four. I mean, you got to the Final Four, but you beat Duke, obviously, and then you beat Texas. And I remember all of you guys, this whole group, Baby had his, the boa, the colored feathered boa. And y'all all ran up into the stands, and I happened to be there because I lived in Atlanta at the time. I was on one of those first 12 rows. And everybody ran up in the stands and just started celebrating with all the LSU fans. And I've had more comments about that team unity from other people that happened to be at the game. There's 50-something thousand people because Duke obviously drew a big crowd. Texas was huge. But that was just such an incredible moment. It's really one of the greatest moments, I think, in all of LSU sports history.
Oh, man, it was awesome, man. Like I say, it was terrific. It was a wonderful feeling. After we beat Duke, we went up and hugged our parents. You know what I'm saying? Because all of them drove down, and we went up there and hugged our parents, man, and we hugged them. And, you know, I thank my mom, you know what I'm saying? I just thank her because without her, you know what I'm saying? Without her and God, I wouldn't be here. But, you know, we just thanked them. We had a good time, man. We wanted to do it for the city, man. And like I said, it was the same year that Hurricane Katrina came through.
Yes, it
so
was.
So
right
what
after,
we was doing,
yeah.
so what we was doing, it wasn't even about us. It was about this whole state, and we just giving them, it was giving something to smile about and something to be happy for.
It was great. And by the way, you're no stranger to storms yourself, being from Denham Springs. Y'all have had some terrible ones, but this right here, they're showing pictures of JJ getting swallowed up. JJ, Duke has had so many phenomenal players, and so many of them, for at least 30 years, were staying 4 years. That was the thing. And then now guys are obviously leaving early. But JJ was the leading scorer out of all those guys. I happened to be at Cameron Indoor when he got the lead. He beat out Johnny Dawkins, who had the record back from the 80s. Right. But LSU he couldn't do a thing. And hey, I like JJ a lot. So, I don't want to dog him, but he was crying after the game. And it wasn't just because his career was over. He was crying because he just got beat by LSU, and he could not believe it. He could not believe that he was held nearly scoreless in that game.
Man, we were the underdogs coming in, so all we were thinking about, man, is us against them. We were the 4 seed. What was it, 4 seed?
4 seed.
We was the 4 seed, and they were the 1 seed. They was predicted to win it all. But John Treloar gave Garrett Temple that task, man. Like every game, John Treloar gave
the
us,
assistant coach.
The assistant coach
right.
gave us everyone a task. Like Garrett had J.J. Redick that game, and I had P.J. Tucker against Texas. So we knew if they got off,
Big 12 player of the year.
Big 12 player of the year. So we knew if they got off that they would have won the game. So we knew we had to do it. That was big. That was a big commitment.
Those 2 games. Okay, I'm going to say this. LaMarcus Aldridge, by the way, one of the greatest players in the country. We know what he's done in the NBA. You had Boobie Gibson, who played on LeBron's. They got to the finals that year. Boobie Gibson, Daniel with them. Sheldon Williams was the 6th pick of the draft for Duke. He was the 6th overall, and he went to the Hawks. JJ, we all know about his scoring. Chadwick Randolph was the 2nd best player in the country, supposedly coming out of high school. Both those teams were loaded, I'm trying to tell you, with McDonald's All-Americans. And you guys had Baby, so y'all had a couple yourself. But it was just, no one expects you to beat the first one. And I said this when Garrett was here. But everybody assumes that because, like when the Russians beat the Americans in U.S. hockey, everybody thought that was the gold medal game, but it wasn't. They had to beat Finland next, and nobody remembers that. Right. Nobody remembers Texas for whatever reason because they thought Duke. But they were both great. They're both top 5 teams, and it was a great run.
Oh, yeah, man. Like I said, with Duke, we knew everybody had counted us out, so we was like, man, we made it this far. Let's go ahead and continue it. So as we beat Duke, man, it was great. But we wasn't finished. After that, we wasn't finished. We was short-term memory. And we knew we had Texas right after that. So it was.
What happened against UCLA?
Oh man, we
that was in the final. I was up in Indianapolis too.
I guess we was overexcited. We didn't prepare.
Well, at least you're all over Jordan right there, Jordan Farmer.
Oh man, that's probably a foul too. we was losing. I just probably.
Well, I was there and I went to the press conferences and I remember one thing I was like, and it wasn't you that said it. I think it was Tyrus, and that's when I knew we were in trouble because. It was the interviews, that you practice, and then, you come out to the press area. They bring a couple players out. You were a freshman, so I doubt you were there. Maybe you were. But they brought out Tyrus, and they asked him, well, who are you looking forward to guarding on the other team? Because I don't even know their names. I don't even know who they are. I said, oh, no, we're in trouble. It's over. But the best game of all those, as far as excitement, was the second-round game when Darryl Mitchell hit that shot. I was in Jacksonville for those first 2. You beat Iona, came back, and A&M was pretty darn good. And they were up. I don't know if it was 1 or 2, but they were up. And this shot doesn't go down. It looked like a 30-footer. Right. And he was just, the ball was arched. And we showed it on the last show, but the ball was just arched in the air forever. And it went through. But John Brady has a lot to be thankful for because his contracts might have been a little smaller after that without that one shot.
Yeah, in the timeout, we had the ball. Coach Brady drew it up. Coach Brady drew it up, Tires to come screen, and they had to switch. So we wanted Darren Mitchell. We thought Darren Mitchell was going to go to the goal, and I think we would have tied it.
Right.
But he ended up,
he went for the 3. He went for the 3. He said, let's go home, people.
He went for the 3, and it was over with, man. It was awesome, man. It was great.
All right, Boogie Cousins is a big talk here now. Because obviously, he is a free agent. And what are your thoughts? You played against him. It was your 5th year. Right. Taz had an injury, but it was your 5th year, so you had to sit out a year for the most part. You got hurt in Hawaii, I believe.
Yes, sir.
And so you came back for the 5th year after the great 2009 season. So you should be commended for that because you were losing some players. But you came back and you played against Boogie, probably twice. Right. But what are your thoughts about his game and what do you think about the Pelicans and re-signing a guy like him with the injury and everything?
He's a great talent, man. I like him a lot. You know, I think he's misunderstood.
I love him.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think he's misunderstood. He's a
wants
great
to
talent. He wants to win, and
win.
he's just one of them passionate guys. And me personally, I think the Pelicans don't want to lose him. They don't need to lose him because I think their chances, if he would have played in the playoffs, they probably would advance a little more. And but they came across Golden State. Nobody's really going to beat Golden State.
Right.
Let's be honest. But they probably would have had a better chance.
But they might have a better shot in the next couple of years because you're not going to do it probably without him.
Right. No doubt. So
and he might scare them a little more.
Yeah. So I like him. I love his game. I like how he's a hybrid.
Take the chance with the Achilles heel.
Take the chance. He's a hybrid. You know, he's a hybrid. He could shoot the ball. He could post up. He could dribble the ball. He could pass the ball.
Was he doing that at Kentucky? Him and John Wall were on that team together.
No, he was. He didn't have to. He wasn't doing it at Kentucky. You know, because Calipari didn't allow him to do that.
True.
Calipari just wanted him to do what he did, and obviously got to where he needed to go. So now he was able to display his talent. So.
I'd be remiss not to bring up the year after Brady left because Brady left that cupboard full.
Yeah.
You know, obviously Marcus Thornton could put the ball in the basket. I mean, he could play. And I want your opinion right here before we talk about that because this is when Brady, this was his last press conference and he cried right there. And this is a guy that had coached you for 3 years and you probably knew him from the recruiting trails before that. I mean, do you remember that press conference and do you remember what your thoughts were back then?
Oh, I remember it, and you know, like I said, I really didn't have a problem with Coach Brady. You know, so I think he was an awesome coach. You know, a lot of guys felt differently about him. You know, but when that happened, you know, you never want to go through a coaching change.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because you got to get acquainted with somebody.
Sure.
Now you have to prove to somebody else that you're able to, because they might have a different look on you.
Yeah.
So, you know, it was real devastating. But I'm like, you know what I'm saying, we got to go on. You know what I'm saying, we got to go on. We got to get better. We can't stay here. But I mean, I felt bad for him. I felt bad for him.
No doubt.
Because it was like what 17, like what 12, 11, like probably 12 months after he, you know, to a year after
the
he went to Final Four.
Right. And that's just like, wow. What have you done for me lately?
And like I say, I mean, it wasn't. You know, I don't think it was about whether he was a good coach or not. You know what I'm saying? I don't think it was about that. I think it was more about, you know, just personality-wise.
Well, I know he loves you, and he has a ton of respect for you, and he's loving being retired right now. He's enjoying it. He's doing a lot of things. You see him probably on the LSU trail because he's calling games with obviously Chris Blair. Let me talk real quick about that 2009 season because that's the year after Brady. And Trent Johnson was your head coach. Right. I remember this. I was an agent at the time, and I saw you because, like you said, I've known you since like 9th or 10th grade. I remember being at a football game before y'all even played a basketball game, right? And I remember I was talking to you in the concourse, and this was not agent talk. I never brought one word up yet.
Not at all.
We were talking just as friends, and he comes, and I see him like pulls you over. He kind of says, come over here. And I don't know what he said, but I know he didn't want you talking to an agent. And I'm like, dude, this is a different relationship. I would never go out of the way and talk to a player that I'm not supposed to be talking to. But right. he had a full cover there, and you guys went far. Y'all won the SEC for the second time in your career. But talk about that year and him as a coach.
Like with Trent Johnson, I think he's really misunderstood.
Too?
He's just a guy that wants to, you know, control his team, and he has his team back.
Right.
And he didn't want no other outside sources,
right.
you know, people getting into his player's head. He
He
wanted to control that. Now, how he did it might not have been how we do it in Louisiana.
Sometimes the strategy's good, the execution's poor.
The execution, that's basically what it was. And,
right.
And he really didn't care about that. All he cared about was us as players and as growing as men. You know, I think he was an awesome coach. You know, so I liked him a lot. But that season, and I also think if Brady had me, he wouldn't have got fired.
Right.
You
were hurt. You were hurt. That's a year.
If I wasn't hurt, because he would have won a little more, and they would have had no choice but to. He didn't have that leader on that team.
No, you didn't.
He didn't have a leader on that team. So when I came back, that's what happened. You know what I'm saying? Not saying I was the reason for it all, but I was able to put everybody together, and we played together as a team.
I know.
You know
I remember
and stuff like that. So you know, everybody played together, and we played hard, and we knew each other's strengths and weaknesses. So we capitalized off of it, and that's why Trent gave Brady a ring after we won that year. Trent
That's very cool.
wanted to give Brady a ring because he was like, these are not my players, these are yours.
That's very cool that he did that. I did not know that, actually. One last thing on this topic. That North Carolina, you saw some highlights of Ty Lawson, and Ty plays with Garrett now, or he was last year at some point. And apparently Ty likes to talk, and he's like, you know, hey, Y'all might have beat Duke in 06, but we took y'all down. They beat everybody. That Carolina team,
Yeah,
they won in 05, and then they won again in 09, which is this one.
Right.
They had some ballers, and they beat everybody in the tournament. You have to win 6 to win it all. And they beat them all by 20-plus points. But LSU was a single-digit game, and LSU was tied, and they even had the lead in the second half. And I thought that they might pull a second-round upset. First of all, I didn't think y'all should be the 8th seed. Playing them as a 1 seed in the second round, you 13-3 in conference.
We was in North Carolina too.
And it was in Greensboro.
It was in Greensboro.
Not
North
really
Carolina.
cool.
But I mean, Coach Johnson prepared us, man. He prepared us to be tough, and you know, no matter who stepped in front of us, no matter what seed they were, you know, it was us against them. And like I said, we had our whole team was ready, was prepared to play them. Now they were overall better than us that day, but if we would have played them 9 more times, I feel like we would have beat them.
All right, I've got a couple of gifts for you, but you're coming back. So we'll be right back. Hey, we're going to talk NBA draft next, but we're going to save the players and the future outlook for next season in this assistant coach's eyes and talk about all those great players. Everybody heard the name Naz Reid. Well, he's a McDonald's All-American, but this list is long. LSU's recruiting class has a ton of top 50 players. So we're going to bring Taz back, talk about that in his first year as an assistant coach. But next, hey, the NBA draft is this week. It's on Thursday, and they're going to have just 2 rounds. You know, they changed that years ago. When I was a kid, you had 6, 7, 8 rounds in the NBA, but now it's just 2, and everybody else becomes an unrestricted free agent. So we're going to figure out who the Pels might take with that second-round pick, and maybe will they move up to the first round. We'll be back on Primetime Sports.
Primetime Sports with Scott Alexander is underwritten by Task Performance.
The owners of the Delachaise Wine Bar on St. Charles Avenue have opened up their newest creation uptown on Maple Street called Chez Delachaise, a new local wine bistro featuring a larger menu of small and large plates, a brighter atmosphere, and full table service. Additionally, patrons can enjoy a large patio out front as well as an extensive wine list offering selections from around the world. It's Chez Delachaise, 7708 Maple Street between Carrollton and Broadway.
Rock and roll will never die. It's old New Orleans, my oh my. Come on, baby, let's go rock and roll at the city lane. All night, let's roll, let's rock and roll. Baby, do the rock and roll. At the mid-city lanes, the home of rock and roll.
Hey, welcome back to Primetime Sports. That, of course, we just had Taz Mitchell, but we're bringing him back because I know everybody wants to know about that great freshman class. We talked a lot about his career and what happened when he played, but now we're going to talk about the future of LSU basketball, and they have 7 guys that we're going to let you know all about because they have been just working out. So we'll get to that in a second. But first off, you know it's the NBA draft, and you might not know this, though. The New Orleans Pelicans have had only 1 first-round pick since 2012. Kind of remarkable to believe, right? They traded a couple to get Drew Holiday, and they've made trades along the way. And that one they got was in 2016. Buddy Hield, and he was gone within a half a year. They traded to get Boogie Cousins at the All-Star break. So this year, it's no different. No first-round pick, but they do have a guy named Nico Mirotic that definitely helped them to get to the playoffs and go into the second round. But that's been Dell's style. And you know what? It hadn't worked out early, but it seems to be working out right now. And a lot of those players, particularly Drew Holiday and Nico Mirotic, are still with the team. But we're still going to talk about the draft. We're going to talk about the big picture of the draft and also the Pelicans in the second round. Last year it was Frank Jackson from Duke, who probably would have been a first rounder without his injury. He didn't play at all this year because of the injury, but they are expecting big things to coming up. But for the last 2 years, I brought my man, NBA expert for the draft. You know his name, Chase Brocato. Well, I'm bringing him back again for a third year. We're going to have some fun. We're going to talk Pels, and we're going to talk about what's going on the NBA landscape. So welcome back, my friend. How you been?
Thank you very much. I love NBA draft, and I love talking sports with you.
Yeah, actually, Chase was doing, when I did ESPN radio, and I used to do my shows at Deuce McAllister, his restaurant down in the quarter on, that's a nice plug for you, Deuce, on Fridays. Well, Chase would come join me right when he got out of school at Alabama, and he was looking for something to do, and he knew sports, so I had some fun with him. So now we're back on TV. Let's talk about this draft because the Pelicans, their draft basically was at the All-Star break when they got Nico Mirotic. Now they're looking second round. But let's talk about that trade and what it meant. when they pulled him in, Nico wasn't doing so well at first. He had a few good games, and then he had a 13-game stretch where he only averaged 8 points and literally had about 8 or 9 threes in that 13 games. But once he shaved that beard, which you see right there, the guy went crazy. He averaged 28 points a game for at least a few weeks, and then he was knocking threes down at a rate of 3 or 4 per game. So what did it mean getting this guy, who's essentially your first-round pick, to come to New Orleans?
I think this changed the whole outlook of the team, Scott. When we brought him in, it showed that we were committed to winning right now. It showed Anthony Davis that, hey, we want to win right now. We're not trying to build 5 years down the line. We know you're in the prime of your career, and we want to bring in pieces, which it showed you in the Portland series. He took over, and he really shot from three, and he hit everything that was given to him, and I thought that really changed the series.
Well, you said it best. The headline in New Orleans when Boogie got hurt, because they had won 7 of 8 at that point. That was their best stretch. It was their first 4-game winning streak. People seem to forget that because they had the 10-game winning streak later when Boogie was out. They had another 9-game winning streak, but they had literally won 4 in a row, 7 of 8. They were playing good basketball, but the headlines in New Orleans said, season over, no chance for playoffs. And what did Dell do? He went out and got a guy that they haven't had lately, a guy that can actually shoot, and you have to cover him, and you can't double down on Anthony Davis when they're both in the game. So I thought the spacing that he brought, along with E'Twaun Moore hitting threes at pretty much a much better rate than he did the year before, was one of the key parts for the Pelicans' success.
Yeah, I agree with you, Scott, and I think that you're starting to see what Alvin Gentry wants to do with this roster. He wants to do space and pace offense, kind of like what he did with Golden State when he was the assistant under Steve Kerr. He kind of brought those principles over, and now that he's getting the pieces, it's kind of showing you what the potential has for New Orleans going down the road.
Which leads us to our next question, because the big thing out there is, do you sign Boogie Cousins? Obviously, everybody would love to have Boogie back, but Boogie wants security, and I don't blame him. The guy's been on a bad team for literally his first several years in a career, and listen, he wants to win, and he saw the Pelicans starting to win, and I know he knows it's a good situation, and the Pelicans can pay him more because of obviously, if you have a guy on your roster and he's a free agent, they encourage you to be able to keep them in the NBA, so they're going to be able to pay him more than any other team. However, will the Pelicans be willing to pay him? And what Boogie wants is those extra years on the contract, but as we all know, when you're coming off an ACL injury, nothing is guaranteed. So, I mean, not ACL, excuse me, Achilles tear, which is even worse. Right. Because, you know, big men, it's hard to come back. Now, what do you do if you're the Pelicans in this situation?
This is a double-edged sword because if you don't re-sign Boogie, then the fans are going to be mad. Then you might not get as much pub for the team. But if you do re-sign him, let's say he doesn't come back 100%, then guess what? You're stuck in quicksand for about 3 years. You can't do anything with your cap.
That's just 3. Well, he's not going to sign for just 3. I'm telling you. He's going to take 4 minimum to get, unless he and Anthony Davis have that great relationship. And I know that's a big part. If they can re-sign Rondo and you have AD right there, that'd be huge. But what if you have it for 4 or 5 years and it doesn't work out?
Right, then you're kind of stuck going back in the rebuilding mood. I mean, you're kind of seeing what the Grizzlies are going after. Last year, they were a 56-win team. This year, 22, because people got injured and you don't have the superstars. So it's a superstar league. So if you're the Pelicans, you kind of have to re-sign him just to make Anthony Davis happy, first of all, because he could leave in 2 years to go somewhere else.
Sure.
So you really need to keep the core intact. I think Holiday, Rondo, it showed you. If we had Boogie, who knows what could have happened.
Well, I'm agree with you there. I actually absolutely think they need to re-sign him, unless you're talking about working some magic and pulling LeBron James in here or Kawhi Leonard in here. And I'm not even that sold on Paul George, although I know he'd be just fine. They need a 3, certainly a guy that could score at that position. But Boogie Cousins is going to be the reason, along with Anthony Davis and Drew Holiday, that you might have a shot against the Houston Rockets, or you might have a shot, or maybe a prayer at least, against the Golden State Warriors. You happen to be playing in a conference that has one of the greatest teams of all time. That's just bad timing and bad luck. But without Boogie, you don't really have a shot at those games. With Boogie, all of a sudden, you're throwing 2 big 7-footers out there that are multi-dimensional. They can do a lot of things. They can shoot from the outside. They can put it on the floor. And they can always dominate them in the paint. So that is the thing I think the Warriors might have to deal with, because they don't have any decent big men. You only have one Draymond Green. He's already undersized. What do they do then? Instead of them going in the defensive, they have to be on the defensive of what you bring to them.
Right, and I think if Dell Demps was watching the finals, which I'm sure he was, he saw that Tristan Thompson, game 1, Golden State had no answer for him. He had 11 offensive rebounds by himself. So
that was just in game one, though. Trust me.
Exactly. Well, they made the adjustment and brought
Right.
in JaVale McGee. But let's just say you have two big guys like Boogie and AD. I mean, that might be 20 offensive rebounds in one game. And I think that's the formula you need to beat Golden State. You can't outshoot them and you can't outplay them on pace.
Hey, listen, life is about risk, you know. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. And I think you have to roll the dice and go with it. I think Boogie is a guy that is in the prime of his career who's putting up historic numbers. I mean, historic. There's not guys that average 26, 27, 13 rebounds, and 5 assists, and he was doing that. The list in the NBA history is very small. All right, let's move forward to free agency coming through. I know the Pelicans wouldn't have a lot of money. They have to be on the cheap, with or without Boogie. Is there a small forward out there? Because right now, Solomon Hill is your guy. You're really playing Etuan Moore at the 3, and he's a shooting guard. I mean, you have no size there. You're going to get outmatched on defensive situations. Solomon Hill right there, he was out of shape when he came back. That picture is obviously from the season before because he didn't look that lift. But he had a leg injury. Obviously, he couldn't come back at full strength. I mean, he gained some weight. You can't really work out a whole lot on that. But what do you do at that 3 position? Anybody out there that can give you some dynamic scoring ability?
Yeah, when I thought about this, Scott, there's one guy that came to mind, and he's very affordable. You can probably get him at mid-level exception. That's Gerald Green, the small forward for Houston.
Rockets.
He actually got picked up 2 weeks before the playoffs started. He was on his couch, and Houston gave him a call and said, hey, come join our bench. He ended up going off for 15 points one game in the Western Conference Finals against Golden State off the bench. So he's someone you could bring in, not very expensive, but comes in right off the bench, can give you 15 to 20 as soon as he gets hot. One of the best three-point shooters in the playoffs when he was playing with the
he's
Rockets.
one of those guys that has a lot of rise, too. Good shooter. Now there you see him. New Orleans fans, you might remember the first of the 3 All-Star games they had this past decade. This one in 2008, Gerald Green was a young pup, and he was blowing out the candle in the slam dunk competition at the All-Star weekend. And unfortunately, only because Dwight Howard wore the Superman outfit, he did not win. But Gerald Green certainly has ups, and he's still, at 10 years later, still has those same ups. He hasn't lost a thing, has he?
No, not at all. I think he's one of the most athletic wings on the market that you can get. Other guys, Trevor Ariza, they're going to want $60 million. This guy's very affordable and someone that can come in right away and contribute.
And I like that thing because you can mix in. Solomon's got good defense. If you want to go small again like he did most of the last year with Moore, and then obviously throwing in Drew and hopefully Rondo, then you have that option as well. Hey, the draft is what we're here to talk about. So Saints, excuse me. I'm thinking Saints because I'm about to say something about Mickey Loomis. But the Pelicans don't have a first-round pick. But Mickey Loomis has shown, and I know he's not the GM, Del Demps is, but he's in the mix. Trust me. I mean, he's they're owned by the same guy, and he will be answered to. Is there any chance that they move up? And you talked about threes. And I know we both like a guy from Villanova named Mikal Bridges, who was the unsung guy for that championship they had, when they won a couple years ago. But he became a true leader along with Jalen Brunson on this Villanova team. What do you think about the Saints rolling the dice and saying, hey, let's get somebody really good at the 3. You don't have to pay a rookie a lot of money. And would he be a guy that could fit in this offense?
Yeah, Scott, this is someone that I would actually make a run for to get up to draft just because he's a winner, first of all, 2-time national champion. Led the team in scoring 18 points a game. He's very efficient. He shoots 52% from the field. Anyone will take that on an NBA roster. Shoots 41 from 3. So this guy can get buckets, but not just that. He gets his teammates involved. If you watch the Villanova games, they kind of remind me of Golden State. Very unselfish. They move the ball all around, try to get other players involved. And that's something that Jay Wright's instilled in these players. So they're going to bring it with them to the next level. So I want players like that on my team, and I think he's someone comes in right away, starts at the 3 and D, and then develops into an all-star.
I agree, and I think he's one of the more cerebral players in college basketball last year. He's smart, and he knows where to do when he has the ball. Hey, let's talk about the draft at the second round. That's more likely where they're going to go. So who are some options out there that you think might fill the need? They're picking at 51, so you're not going to get a lot of times the second rounders don't make it. They usually go to the D-League. But some of these guys, and I'm going to mention one guy in particular because LSU almost got him a few years back, and he ended up going to Mississippi State, and then he went to Kansas, Malik Newman. And Newman had an okay season at Kansas. It was good at times, streaky, but this game against Duke, he showed the country what he is capable of. and they whipped them. I mean, they killed them in the Sweet 16 game. Might have been the Elite 8 game. I think Sweet 16 game. And Malik Newman went off for over 30 points in that one.
Yeah, Scott. Malik Newman, I think, is going to be the steal of the draft. Whoever ends up with this guy, he will be an all-star in the NBA, and I'll tell you why. 6'4", very physical. If you look at him, he's a very built guy. He can shoot the three. He showed you that. He can be a one-man team. He single-handedly helped Kansas beat Duke. There was nobody hitting shots. Graham couldn't hit a shot. Nobody could. He hit 6 threes in the left corner. He's just very smart. He gets open without the ball. He doesn't just sit there and hope someone passes it to him. He runs the baseline, gets open.
And I like that he's wearing the old early 80s short shorts, too. That's back. They're bringing it back up the thigh here. They're bringing it back up. Hey, by the way, I remember when LSU was almost going to get him, and he ended up going to Mississippi State originally, and they were going to try to team him up with Ben Simmons. And Simmons, everybody dogs Simmons' career. I thought he played well for a lot of that, and they were doing pretty well. They finished 11-7 in conference, but with Malik Newman, that could have been a lot better. Anybody else in the second round that you think might be available that the Pelicans can use? And I'm talking, I'd rather see a guy that you might be able to fit in as a role player.
Yeah, this guy, point guard from Wichita State, Landry Shamet. He's actually big point guard, 6'4". He shoots the three incredibly well, 45%, shoots 50% from the field. He's someone that took a lot of the pressure off Ron Baker last year, the all-star that they had, now plays for New York Knicks. He was a guy that didn't really get his name out because Baker got all this spotlight, but this year he kind of took over. He's the leader of the team. Greg Marshall said he's one of the smartest point guards he's ever coached, and that says a lot.
That is nice. That's an under-the-radar guy, because I think most of America that doesn't follow college basketball as close as maybe we do, and some others that are watching the show might not know his name. That's a good one. What about anybody else at the 3 position? Because like we talked about earlier, Bridges would be nice, but you're not getting him in the second round. You'd have to trade up pretty high to do so. Is there anybody that you like that might be athletic that you can maybe bring along?
Yeah, there's actually a local guy right down the street from Avondale, Louisiana, who played for Tulane, Melvin Frazier.
Oh, Frazier. Most improved player in the country, in my opinion. He was phenomenal.
6'6", small forward. He shoots the ball well. 16 points a game. Shot 56% from the field, 39 from 3, which is good for a big guy. But he was considered one of the best defenders in college basketball.
I agree. You know what? And his 3 has been very much improved. I thought it was a little shaky coming into Tulane, and his ups are as good for a guy his size of anybody. And the thing is, I've seen his range of draft status everywhere. Like, I mean, there's some that say he could sneak in the first round because he has crazy athletic ability, and his improvement's been unreal. Do you think the Pelicans could have a shot at 51 because you're talking kind of towards the latter end of the first round?
I think so. I think that they can get one of these 3 guys I mentioned, just because there's going to be a few guys that fall. Some scouts don't like guys. Malik Newman, he doesn't have the best work ethic according to scouts, but he's someone that I know will come in and work his butt off to be able to prove what he's got, because he felt like Mississippi State, he didn't really get the recognition he wanted.
Well, Chase, you signed this ball before, so I'm just going to go ahead, and we have a new thing. We're giving out not just these gift certificates, we're giving out a little task performance. And here you go. This is obviously Shays Delachey's. Okay. Enjoy that.
Thank you.
Have you been there before?
Yeah, it's a great place.
On Maple Street between Carrollton and Broadway. And here is a task performance shirt. I got to tell you this. I wear task all day, everything. In fact, you might not see it now, but I still have 2 things task, my socks and my underwear. It feels great. It's bamboo fiber technology, and it's the softest thing you'll ever put on. I do appreciate you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, my man. Chase Brocato, 3rd straight year. He comes on the draft, and we've loved it. He's been right on, spot on the last couple times he was on. Hey, we're coming back. Guess what? Hey, next week we have a huge show, and I can't wait to tell you about that one because we have Tulane quarterback Jonathan Banks. This guy was at Kansas State. He wanted some more playing time, so he came down to Tulane and had a fantastic year. They're ready to go back to a bowl. That's coming next week, as well as a couple guys that you may know if you're around my age. Lyman White, one of the best defensive linemen. No, he's one of the best defensive linemen in LSU history. And I mean that. If you ever saw him play back in the late 70s, early 80s, you would say the same thing. And Kyle France is also going to come on. We're going to talk all about how does New Orleans get these events that come to the Superdome. They've got in 2020, I'm going to say this real quick. 2020, you got the national championship football game. 2022, you have the Final Four. And 2024, you have the Super Bowl. That's a nice 4-year run. We're going to tell you about all that, how that happens. But coming up next on this show, I have Taz Mitchell coming back, and we're going to talk all about this new LSU team next year. Yeah, we got Tremont Waters coming back. We have Scholar Bay's coming back, but they're going to be joined by some great players, and I can't wait to talk about them right here on Primetime Sports. Hey, welcome back to Primetime Sports. I told you after we talked some NBA draft, I was going to bring Taz Mitchell back. And one last reminder, next week, the great Lyman White is going to be here. And Tulane fans, I haven't forgotten about you. Your quarterback is poised to have a gigantic year, and his name is Jonathan Banks. He's going to be on, and we're going to talk to Kyle France as well next week, and he's going to fill you in on why the Super Bowl comes here all the time, how do we get the Final Fours, and also the national championship football games. All of those things are coming in the next, say, 6 years, so that's pretty huge. Hey, but right now we're going to talk about this LSU basketball team and their assistant coach. His name is Tasmin Mitchell. We had him on earlier talking about his career and what was going on there. Now I want to talk about his coaching career. And welcome back, my man.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome back. Welcome back. I didn't realize that was your first interview. That's pretty cool. You mentioned that earlier. I remember it like yesterday because I'd heard your name literally since 8th grade and 2 years later. But now you're a man. You're an assistant coach. And I know you're obviously coaches. You're going to slowly work up that tree and get to where you want to be eventually. And you'll see if this is the life you want. But first of all, what's it been like? Because you basically got named the coach right around this time last year, somewhere around here. What's it been like this past year for you?
Well, my title is Director of Student Athlete Development.
Yep.
And it's been real trying for me because not just abruptly stop playing basketball to now trying to teach the game, you know. So
look how professional you look in that picture. That is some nice threads. That looks like McClavey and Easterly, or McClavey now. I used to work at that place. But go ahead, yeah, it's been trying for you.
Yeah, it's been trying because I still, you know, what I'm saying, I still think that I can get out there and do the same thing these players can, and not knowing that they're 17, 18 years old,
right,
and stuff like that. So it's been kind of a battle for me. But I mean, I'd have grasped it, and then I'm learning from the other head assistants, coaches, and Coach Wade. I'm learning a lot. I'm just being a sponge.
Be a sponge. That's all you got to do. I mean, just work hard and be a sponge. Hey, by the way, before I'm remiss not to say it, I remember you were very close to making Cleveland Cavaliers. You had some workouts when you went a ways with them, and you had some other cups of coffee. I know you were doing some stuff with the Hornets. That might have been Summer League. I don't know. But the fact is you played some overseas ball as well. Talk about playing in other countries. Being, you know, a kid from Denham Springs.
Well, it was real challenging, you know, because, you know, I wanted to make it to the NBA so bad,
right,
you know, but you know, there's an alternative, you know what I'm saying?
You came around at the wrong time because the world became the NBA, and in the 90s, no question, you're in the league, but you're adding 150 foreign players. Yeah. That's a lot of players because there's only like 450 NBA players in the world right now. All right, and that's if you count the 15-man roster. Right. If you're talking 12, let's do math, it's only 360. Yeah. So you have that many foreigners coming from everywhere. I'm not trying to make excuses for you, but it's fact, and it squeezed a lot of guys overseas.
Right. I think it was a matter of eras.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, like now they're taking guys, and like now they're saying that the NBA is a positionless sport. It's a positionless game. Like they draft Draymond Green, he's playing the 4 and the 5. He play, you know. So it's really like they draft
playing point guard sometimes.
Right. So right now when they said that the NBA is a positionless game, so they drafting 6'5" players to play the 4 and the 5 now. You know what I'm saying?
So
like I was just 4 or 5 years behind, and that because they was too busy trying to position me. He's a tweener. He can guard the 3. He can play the 3, but he can't guard the 3. He can play the 4, but too short to play the 4. So I mean, it was just a matter of errors. I was like 3-4 years too late, and I just went to Europe and played out there.
I'm just having a flashback too. Now you mention all this is when I came and I was an agent, and I came in with Chris Greer, Lucci, and we came over to the Wampole's house. You're kind of like your second family, Julie Wampole. I know she thinks you're her son. I said, well, you are for sure, Richard Wampole. But I remember going to the house, and I'd be like, man, whoever gets this guy is going to get a great client because a person that Yeah, because clients can be a wide range of type of people.
Right.
But just a guy that you can count on as being a good human being first, and he's going to work hard. And that's, to me, that's the best kind of client. It's not necessarily the guy that's going to make you the most money.
No doubt.
You know what I'm talking about? And that's the kind of guys you want to coach, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I do, but I also want to coach guys with a little attitude. You know what I'm saying? Not with attitude, but know how to calm it down, because attitude is everything. You know, it determines your toughness.
No question.
And your ability to learn and how you're going to approach the game.
Give me some examples of guys with attitude that you think of first when you think guys with attitude.
Tyrus Thomas had attitude.
Yes, he did.
You know, he had a lot of attitude. You know, Baby had a lot of attitude.
By the way, I sat next to his mom during the Duke game.
Oh, yeah.
Tyrus's mom, and I introduced her to Isaiah Thomas, and Isaiah, the first thing he says, "Oh, I knew you had to be good looking if your name was a Thomas."
Right.
That was Isaiah.
Yeah, people like that. You know, Tyrus Thomas, Big Baby had attitude. You know, and Garrett had attitude also. You know what I'm saying? Darren, we all had attitude. You know,
Right.
guys, you got to have attitude to play the game. Man.
Well, Baby's attitude started turning not positive towards the end of his LSU career. I remember that one year I was like, what happened to Baby? Because I flew him into Atlanta. You were the year after I left the TV business, and I flew all these dudes like LeBron and all of them, CP3. And Baby was the most gregarious interview. I'm talking from Kobe, we started doing this, to Dwight Howard. That's 86 to 94, right. 96 to 04, excuse me. And the people in our office was like, Big Baby is the most fun-loving, gregarious dude we've ever seen. We had all of them, and some of them are great. CP3 was great, guys like that. But Baby, people don't realize what a star he was coming to LSU.
He was good, man. He liked being in front of the TV, man. Anytime, any place you see a TV and a news anchor or something like that, he is.
That red light comes on.
That red light come on. But I mean, but that was him. That was him, just a person.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He just wanted to be the life of the party. You know, just want to make everybody smile, laugh. You know, want to be seen. So that was always him, and we understood that. We embraced it. You know, we embraced him. Like, hey, let Baby do this. Let him do that. So yeah, he was that guy. He had a great personality, man. That just light up a room. People
are going to kill me if I don't start talking about this next year's team, because I think most people are so fired up about this class in the way that they played last year. In a lot of people's eyes, they really overachieved. I mean, people were saying, man, Scott, can they win even 3 games in conference? Because the year before had been very poor, worst ever in LSU history. Well, then you had a guy, WLAE, come in as the coach, and he had a player named Tremont Waters. And it's not all Waters, but boy, this kid was special.
Oh yeah, he's an awesome talent, man. And most of all, he's a great kid. You know, he's a humble kid. You know, willing to learn, and the stuff that he has, you can't coach it. You know what I'm saying? It's just all natural.
He's it factor.
It's just natural ability. You know what I'm saying? He's a natural born leader. Now this year he's really a leader. He's more mature than what he dealt with last year. So he's going to be great for us.
Well, that shot against Texas A&M, and he was a big shot hitter all year long, but he was an outright assassin. Yeah. I mean, he hits a 3 to don't they put him in overtime or something, and then he hits the other 3 to win the game. But it was just crazy. This shot was literally from it seemed like 100 feet away, but it was about 30-something foot shot, and Texas A&M didn't know it hit him because it was ball game, and it was like the last seconds of the game.
He's a real confident kid, man. He's a real confident kid, and he knows that, but he don't take it for granted. He knows he can hit the shot. He don't mind taking the opportunity and taking the shot. So we want the ball in his hand at all times now.
And even on defense, I remember the Houston game when he blocked that shot to win. Houston ended up going the second round and giving Michigan fits. That right there won the game for them. And that was actually turned out to be one of the bigger wins of the season because Houston ended up going on a major role.
Yes,
and they played well. So this team had, like I said, they were 8-10 in conference, which when people were thinking they might win 2 or 3 with 16 losses maybe. Right. And I think they overachieved. Now going into the season with Skylar Mays coming back, obviously Darrell Edwards, who I think surprised some people, toughness on D, puts the ball in the basket sometimes when you need it. And of course Wayne Sims' son Wade Sims. You have that nucleus coming back with an incredible freshman class. What are your expectations?
You know, we got to groom these boys to, we got to groom our old guys to mold in with our young guys. And right now it's going real good. I think our expectations should be really high. You know, hopefully we can get these guys to play at their top level because if they play at their top level, there's nobody we can't beat.
Let's talk about these guys because Naz Reid is the McDonald's All-American from New Jersey. Right. Will Wade is nothing but a workhorse on the recruiting trail. He goes all around the country. He's going to leave no stone unturned. There are a couple plays here during that game. That's when I've seen a McDonald's All-American game that he just stunned me because he's a big guy. How tall is he?
He's like 6'10", 6'11".
6'10" at least, but he took the ball all the way up the court, put it between his legs, around his back, and threw it in traffic and got the assist, and he had another couple of slam dunks. But what's he bring to LSU?
He brings a lot to LSU, man. He brings a lot of versatility and matchup problems. And, he's just a like I said about Boobie Cousins, he's like a hybrid. He can shoot the three. He can do it all. He knows his strength. And he's a like I say, these kids that we brought in, they are great kids.
Yeah, that's the most important.
They are great. Their mentality is great, and they want to learn, and they're so eager to learn, and they want to bring LSU to the new heights. Like they're all amped about what they can do for the city, and what they can do for the university.
Emmett Williams. It's funny because Emmett Smith was a football player, obviously, with the most rushing yards in NFL history. But Emmett Williams, he was a late signee, and I know this was a big one to get. LSU had already had a great class, but they brought him in. He was committed, but you never know at the end. Somebody swoops in and takes him. What is this guy going to give LSU next season?
He's going to give LSU a lot of energy, a lot of attitude, and a lot of wows and oohs and ahs. Like I said, he's just a freshman, so there's still some things he will need to learn. But I think Emmett kind of reminded me of myself coming into the into the college.
What's his size?
He's like 6'7". Me and him about the same height. He might be a little taller than me.
Javonte Smart. He's a local guy, Scotlandville, certainly the top prospect in the state. LSU kept him home. I know he's eager to be here. What are his skills?
He's just overall, like I said again, great kid. He's gonna bring a lot of pride back to the city and back to playing for the state, playing for the hometown, Baton Rouge.
Guard.
He's a big guard. He's gonna, him and Trayvon Waters play with each other a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Well, most of the time, a lot. And he's a big guard. He can see the floor. He can shoot the ball. He can score the ball. At Scotlandville, he was a great scorer. He won on the whole rampage a whole month when he averaged 50 points, 45 points.
Wow.
But he's seeing this game is not all. He knows it's not all about scoring now. He sees it and it just fits in. He's molding in with the.
He can score if he wants to, but he knows how to make people better. By the way, Emmett scored 44. Emmett Williams in that Nike Brand Classic.
All dunks.
He was all over the place.
All dunks.
By the way, Darius Days, another one. We're talking all these dudes I've just mentioned are like top 20, 30 players. Darius is right in that mix too. LSU's getting what? Forward.
He's just overall great basketball player. His knowledge and his basketball IQ. He could shoot the ball. He could do it all. He could defend. He could rebound. He's a complete package, and I like him a lot too.
LSU has a history of bringing in the past some guys JUCO to fill a need. I remember Jaime Lareda back in the day was the guy. This year you got Marlon Taylor. What position? What does he do for the Tigers 2018-19 season?
He'd be our wing 2-3. Mm-hmm. Sometimes he
perimeter player.
He be a perimeter. He may shift to the 4 because nowadays it's the small ball game. And he's super athletic. He can shoot the ball. He's flashy. He's he's a cutter, slasher. He's crazy athletic.
Look at his head over his head. That's just over the room, just chilling.
He might be one of the most athletic guys.
He's taking a nap up there. Daniel Kingston, another guy coming in. Him and Cortez Cooper. You're going to redshirt him, but that's a couple more guys.
Daniel Cooper. He's a point guard. He's tough. He's a real tough point guard. Can shoot the ball. He's going to really play great defense, and he's going to fit in right with the team.
Daniel Kingston, speak right. Cortez Cooper. We're combining them as one player. There you go.
Daniel
and Cooper will probably redshirt, but you got Carvel Bigby, another dude coming in, and where is he coming from? Do you know? Is he a JUCO or is he a?
Oh no, he's a graduate. He's a transfer from Oregon. He played in the. He actually played in the Final Four. Yeah, he actually played in the Final Four. But
yes,
said I came here to us. He's 6'10", 6'11", real athletic man, shot blocker, difference maker around the rim. He's going to give it all to us, man.
So this team has a lot more size than we've had in the past, and that's going to be nice to see. Hey, by the way, you brought your beautiful lady in, and I'm assuming that's not your sister. It could be, but I don't think so. Take her to this restaurant. It's called Shays DeLaShays. It's going to be awesome. And Task Performance, I don't know, Richard wears these all the time. So.
Oh man, I wear it.
Have you worn any before?
No, I haven't.
You'll never put anything else on, I promise you.
Thank you. Task
Performance is the softest material you'll ever have in it. And it's bamboo fiber. It's a whole different thing. Trust me, you'll love it. You'll be calling me back. Hey, you got any more of those? And I'm going to say, go to the store. All right. Thanks. That is Taz Mitchell. We did 2 full segments with Taz. He's got a great future in his coaching career, or whatever he decides to do. But I know he's enjoying that right now. And by the way, 6th all-time leading rebounder in LSU history, 3rd all-time leading scorer, and I didn't even throw in the steals and assists on it. He's in everything. He's a jack of all trades when he played. Speaking of jack of all trades, my producer, Will Hill, man, he did such a great job right now. And by the way, I forgot, because we have this thing. You signed this basketball, but you got to sign the football, because I got 3 of these filled with LSU players. This one's my 4th one. But you know what? I can't really read the basketball as well, so sign this one right here, and we're going to put that name right there. This has got Les Miles and Craig Stoltz. And a lot of big stars are on that one. And now we have Tasmin Mitchell, our first basketball player on that. See, this ball, this is not one of those signing balls. But thanks again, man, Taz. Appreciate you. Hey, we'll see you next week. Like I said, we have Tulane quarterback Jonathan Banks. And also, don't forget, we're going to bring in Lyman White next week. The greatest defensive lineman, one of the top 3, in my opinion, LSU history, and we're going to talk to Kyle France as well. That's all next week. Come back for Primetime Sports right here on CST and WLAE.